Shanti, you can start now and you can introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay. So I'm in this journey into the teachings, and into exploring life since roughly 1985, when it happened that Krishnamurti's book fell into my hands, and I started reading from the very first statement I read at the time. The book was The Only Revolution. And from the very first statement, I felt Krishnamurti was really saying something so true and relevant to me. And I started, I think for 10 years, I nearly read nothing else than Krishnamurti. And then I would say, then it started the journey of exploring, sharing with others, and trying to live with that. Because while memorizing in a way or the other what Krishnamurti was saying was relatively easy, and it came quite mechanically. But putting what he was saying into life, into relationship, into my everyday existence was quite a different matter. Was not just repeating words, but it was far more challenging and requiring experimenting and exploring not only the words, but exploring in the field of existence, in the field of relationship. So now I am here. I'm glad to be with you all, and I think this is the journey we are exploring together, and today we are hopefully sharing the exploration of existence, starting from some few of the statements of Krishnamurti that I find relevant for the today topic. So what I was proposing as topic is being with what is. You know, Krishnamurti has been speaking quite a lot about this, saying what you should do is to be choicelessly aware of what is. I think is one of the most well-known Krishnamurti statement. And I added to this the word challenge, the challenge of being with what is, because though it might sound so easy to be with what is, at the end, what is everything. We are here, and we can be aware of being here, of being in front of a screen and listening or speaking and so on. But I'm quite sure that all of us were well aware of the difficulties of this, the hindrances that we meet when we want, I'm stressing the word we want to be aware of what is. And I want to quote something Aditya, the friend that is here in this moment, told me yesterday. He was again quoting Krishnamurti, he was saying, to be aware that I am aware is unawareness. Quite paradoxical statement. So how do we enter into this? Because what Krishnamurti is pointing out is that the will to listen is not to listen. The will to be aware is not to be aware. The will to be good, I would say, is not goodness, and so on. We could go on making a list of this. So what is wrong with will, if there is anything wrong? What is will? So we should not only repeating statements that we gather from Krishnamurti, but actually looking what is going on within ourselves. I think we can see that more or less all the time, or very easily at least, or most of the time, we want something. We want something in a way that can be expressed. We want security, we want good relationships, and so on, or in a way that is unexpressed. This morning, I shared a dialogue with a few friends, and we were saying, when we greet each other in the morning, what isn't it that in a quite in a subtle way, we say good morning, we are quite cheerful. We want something from the other. We want the other to respond in the same way, and we look in a subtle way for safety. Yeah? We want to tell the other, I'm nothing against you, don't be afraid of me. And we expect the other, that is also cheerful toward us, to do the same. So we are searching through this simple thing, everyday action of greeting each other. We search for security. And if when we are going to greet the other has a harsh face, or the other is not greeting us in the same way, immediately we start to feel somehow unsecure. I don't know if you noticed all this. It's quite, I think, common experience at least. So this wanting, I think, quite often we are not really aware of it. It goes through little things. And it should be quite an easy statement to say that what we want, or at least one of the main things we want, is security. But while wanting security at the physical level is quite, it might be a simple, obvious thing, we extend that search for security much further, as in the example I gave just before. We greet each other, we don't see it, but this very greeting is a search for security, search to be approved. And not all of us, but I would say a good number of human beings are so much worrying for what others are thinking about ourselves. So the image we show off to others, something that is quite mechanically done, as a smiling, for instance, is done in order to find others' approval. When we speak, again, we want to be listened and we want to be approved. And if the other is not approving my opinion, there might easily be a sense of being offended, a sense of a reaction. This again is quite a common experience. So why we hold to our opinions and we feel that is a threat if the other is not approving my own opinion. Why it is felt as a threat? Again, not taking words as such, but going beyond words and staying with this uncertainty that is so common in all of us. One can be uncertain in a way, the other in another. One can be more successful, the other less. So the strength of uncertainty might vary in each one of us, but the seed of it is there. Being alone just for a few hours, for many of us, might be enough to start thinking if others have been forgetting about us, if we are not worth to be loved, and so on. So uncertainty is there. I hope we can discuss this perhaps, but I think it's the common lot of us as human beings. So being human, we share something that is common to all of us. No one of us invented this wanting security. It is there. It is written in our brain, in our nervous system, and it acts, I would say, mechanically. Before we are aware of it, it it comes. It is already working. It is there. So we can go a bit further and see how this uncertainty, this fear, we have we breed fear in the relation with each other. Because of this uncertainty, because of this search for confirmation, for approbation from others, we breed fear. And fear produces isolation, division. If one is experiences a strong pain, the experience of pain is an experience of isolation. And while if we are cheerful, happy, we can easily express that, the feeling of pain is not nor easily expressed nor easily accepted by the other. We tend to reject people that are suffering. Suffering is not only self-enclosing, self-isolating, because one is so much absorbed into that, is so much absorbed that one does not even see the other. But the others, on their way around, tend to be away from the person who suffers. And again, this wanting is there in a rather, when there is suffering, wanting is there in a contradictory and confused way. One can be attached to his or her own suffering because that suffering is the link to the person we lost, for instance. This happened to myself. I'm saying this because this is something I went through. So I'm attached to my suffering, or I want to get rid of that suffering. So the two things are the two sides of the same coin. I'm attached to my suffering. I lost my wife, I lost my mother, or I lost my daughter. I'm attached to that because this is the link to the loss, to the person that is not there anymore. Or in other cases, I don't want to suffer. So again, in both cases, there is wanting. And wanting is a movement that mechanically, I would say, arise within this human experience. So when we look at what is inside of us, I'm talking of what is as the inner movement that happens within us. When we look at what is, we look through the lens of this wanting. I don't know if it is like that, but to me, it seems quite a common experience. We look at what is through the lens of wanting, and when we listen to Krishnamurti, who is saying, be choicelessly aware of what is, again, the way we take that is I want to be choicelessly aware of what is, he, in a more or less hidden way, hoping that this is the solution. There was a friend of mine, many years ago, he was he split from his partner, and he was quite suffering for this, as it happens very often in these circumstances. And he came to me and he told me, this time I want to experiment with the teachings and I want to stay with the sorrow. I want to stay with this pain. I want to find out. 1 month later, he came saying, it doesn't work. I stayed with the sorrow the whole month, but it's still there. So it was not, he was blaming the teachings because he was saying, well, they don't work. And it is more or less what we do. We take statements from the teachings and we put them at work, and then we use them as a tool to achieve something. It means we want something out of that. Again, it's a sort of blind spot, a blocked road. So we start to see that every time there is wanting, there is something, I would say, that is untrue. We want to be aware, but that wanting to be aware of what is the denial of being with what is simply, totally, unafraid, I would say. Fear is connected with wanting. And because this wanting to achieve peace, wanting to be happy, wanting to solve our suffering, and so on. When we go through this, wanting something in a subtle or gross way, we produce an isolation The isolation is I want that for myself, because basically my main concern is me. This one thing is for me. My concern is for myself. This isolation is producing the fact that I will not really listen to the other. I will not really see the other, but rather I am using the other with the hope that the other will approve me, will be cheerful to me, and so on. And I will be away from the other if I feel that the other is in pain, is sorrowful, and so on, because this is felt as a threat. So, wanting is about myself, is about protecting myself in a way that goes much, much further than physical protection. Now we arrive to the point of wanting to be approved, wanting to keep my sorrow because it is a link to something I lost, wanting the others to recognize that I am the victim, and so on. It becomes so complicated, so intricate. Is a net of thoughts that overlaps one with the other. At the very root of it, there is a fear and wanting. When we go looking at what is outside, we see that quite easily we blame the other for our isolation. Quite easily we say, you are not listening, you are not understanding me, and so on. And most probably there is a part of truth in this. The other is really not listening. But then, what we do, we're dividing ourselves from the other. The other is not listening because the other is exactly as we are, is just concerned with him or herself, and we're just concerned, I'm just concerned with myself. I blame the other, being unaware that I'm exactly doing the same. I'm concerned just for myself. Whatever I want is for myself. This is quite obvious, I would say. So how do we, is there a possibility to look, not to go further, not to solve the problem, but to look at what is without this fear, without the wanting that is distorting the whole field. I'm saying the fear is at the root, the very root of this movement. Is producing the wanting to be secure, the wanting to be approved, the wanting to be loved, escaping from the other because he is suffering, being totally insecure when my boss has a harsh face and does not respond as cheerfully to my good morning as I hoped he, he does, and so on. So this is part of our humanity. It's not something we are guilty for. It's not a guilt. It's just a fact. We can approach that saying, this is a wrong thing. This is wrong. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to have fear and so on. And again, the wanting enters into the movement of thinking. So is there a complete different approach? Not wanting to erase the fear, not wanting to erase the sense of search for security, not wanting to drop all search for being approved, being loved, being good relationship, and being secure, and all the rest of it. Because this is a blind corner. We will go to nowhere. It is clear. So, is the very movement of wanting the trap what is breeding division? I would say that obviously it is so. Wanting has one foot in the shoes of fear and the other foot in the shoes of controlling myself and controlling a relationship. So it is blocked. It is a blockage. So the question, in my understanding, is, do we see that this is not something produced by me, of which I am, how to say, the manager, but it is something that is part of being human, that it is part of us as human, it is our human ground. So can we look at the other that is in this movement of wanting, smiling to be approved, the rest that we have been talking about? Can we look at the other without judgment? Can we look at the other compassionately, with a sense of not entering immediately into the interpretation of his or her body language, but suspending it and being open? One can be in pain, and his or her body language is communicating a closure, communicating something that is the total denial of communication. And this is fearful. We can interpret that in many ways and not seeing that that person is just suffering so much. So can we look at the other, knowing that the other is in the same movement, searching for security and so on and so on, as we are? This is our common lot as human beings. If this is not a game of words, but we can really meet actually the other as part of this human existence, so we can perhaps do the same with ourselves. So not look at our fears wanting to solve it. That is looking at fear with fear. Yeah. Looking at our own isolation with judgment against ourselves or against the other. But can we meet this, the movement that happens to be in the other, and the movement, the same movement that is within myself, can we meet it in a completely different way? That is, I'm doubtful what is the right word, because there is a possibility, but the moment one names that possibility, then it becomes again in the field of the known, wanting. But the fact is that the only possibility is meet the other without the fear of the unknown, that is the fear of the other. Is meeting my own fear, that is the seed of my wantings, the many wantings, meeting my fear without the fear of that. So this is, in my understanding, the difficulty of this journey. Sometimes Krishnamurti was pointing out that freedom is at the very beginning, not at the end of the journey. Because if we start with fear, hoping one day to be free from fear, all this journey of searching freedom will be through fear, through wanting. And that very wanting, that fear, is conditioning the journey, is conditioning everything we see, is conditioning our relation with the teachings, is conditioning our relation with each other. So, but there are no words, there are no anyone, nor Krishnamurti, and for sure not me, that can take us take our hand and take us there. It is jumping into this absence of fear, into the discovery of this possibility of looking at my fears, at my wanting, at my suffering, without the movement of fear, from that position that is free from fear, that is untouched from fear. This can be and can only be a discovery. The only thing I might add upon this, because it's obvious that everything that is said enters into the field of I want to use that in order to achieve something. And we are back to the same 0 point in the beginning. The only thing I might add is that this is the movement of meditation, silence. To say that, in other words, silence, which within us is the absence of reaction to the reaction, not having an empty mind or stuff like that, but is not reacting to fear, not reacting to the offense, not the offense within, I mean, not the offense that comes from outside, not the words coming from the other, but the reaction to that. Not reacting to my reactions is silence. And if we, through silence, through meditation, I see that we can explore this, the nuances of it, the small movements of this brain that is wanting all the time in the most subtle way. I don't know where this journey can lead us, but I'm sure that there is this possibility. At least there is the possibility of this first step. The first step is the discovering that there is a possibility for freedom to be here from the very beginning. Where this does not mean the ending of the prison of fear, prison of wanting, and so on. It's not the end of it, but at least we start to see it, what is, for what it is. Fear, wanting, searching for being approved, searching for love, and so on and so on. That's all. So I think I'm not been talking for 45 minutes, it's a bit less, but I think it might be enough for the moment. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hope we can share something together.
Yeah. Yeah. May I say something?
Of course. Michelle.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Santi. You spoke very slowly, very clearly, and very interesting. Something which you said that we use concepts coming out from Krishnamurti teachings to solve our problem. But I think that is not the right way. How we read Krishnamurti, how we listen, And in that act of reading or listening, something unconsciously, spontaneously, we get something insight. And that is the real insight. And not reading and gathering knowledge of Krishnamurti, the concepts, and trying to solve our problems. We cannot solve the problem, but we can see how the problems are coming into existence. And that requires this choiceless awareness. And about this staying with what is changing continuously from moment to moment. Our mind is changing, and to move with that. That means it is like riding on the wave in which there is no what should be coming, what is, and in there is no conflict between what is and what should be, and so there is no psychological time. It is like moving with the speed of light. When a person, if can move with the speed of light, then there is no chronological time according to Einstein's theory of relativity. So similarly, moving with what is, not staying with what is. I would not say that, but moving with what is. That means know what should be coming into. And Krishnamurti stayed with the sorrow which came to him when he came to know that his brother Nitya had passed away. And for 10 days he cried, and because all his beliefs in the masters also came down crushed, and because he thought that his brother would live because the masters would look after Nitya, but it did not happen. So for 10 days, Krishnamurti cried. He was in a ship at that time. And after 10 days, he had some insight and he was free from the suffering. So, to watch whatever is happening without what should be, what is, to move with what is, that is very important. And we don't have a choice, I think, in this. And as you said, freedom is at the beginning. So, are we really free to observe if there is anger is arising? Are we able to see the beginning of it, the anger or fear or whatever reactions come in relationship? Because there is no time there. Either you are free or not free. And if you are not free, it will create a lot of complications. But if a person is free to observe whatever reactions come, fear, anger, jealousy, then that seeing is the action which dissolves the problem. So it is about having ongoing, effortless, motiveless awareness of what is, how these thoughts and feelings are arising, watching it without judging it. And so this is the real challenge Krishnamurti is posing for all of us. And as you said, there is a possibility for that. And I would also say that yes, it depends on how passionate we are in looking at our own self and not trying to understand Krishnamurti, but looking at ourselves as we are. So thank you very much. Yes, some other people would like to make any comment. Or Santi, you have to say anything.
No, no, I will listen to Shakti ji.
Okay.
I am audible, sir?
Yes.
I can be
Yeah.
heard? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So this staying with what is, for me, it is not running away from what is. And when I'm in sorrow, if I am thinking about it, I'm not staying with it. That thinking itself is an escape from that without realizing that it is an escape. But if that is happening, is it possible to observe that as well? If a reaction is coming, is it possible to not to remove it, but to watch it, observe it? Another thing I would like to share is, this there has been a retreat here at Rajghat, and one day Krishnamurti's video talk, and he said, "Can you watch yourself without the world?" And I usually watch the beginning of thought, watching thoughts, watching the outside world. But when I tested it out to see if it is possible or not, can you watch yourself without the world? There I got, this meaning of his statement, observer is the observed, quite clear, at least intellectually, because when I am watching myself, that I who is watching and I who is being watched are same. The you as the observer, you are what can you watch yourself? The you, the observer, and the yourself is the observed. Obviously, they are the same. But the moment the word, the thought comes in, then they are separated. So it is interesting to get, this like hints from Krishnamurti or from some friend who is experimenting with Krishnamurti. But one thing I have, again and again, I found that these things cannot be remembered and stored in the brain, and one has to begin again and again and to see, because sometimes the reactions happen so fast. For example, in this meeting, I see it that when somebody is speaking, I keep watching that it's not all the time I'm not listening. Suddenly I start thinking something else, but it can be noticed. The moment it is noticed, something else happens. So it's not fight with myself, but see and see that listening is not happening. Yeah? And then it's not that listening must happen, but can this thought be noticed? And that noticing is it's not difficult. So, just this I want to share. Thank you, sir.
Anybody would like to make any comment? Yeah.
Yeah, and not really. You are what you have been saying, Ashad, and what Shakti ji has been saying is very clear. And The only comment I might add upon it is that when the very expression what is seems to suggest something that is there to be seen, or something that is not moving. No? We can, I don't know, when we say staying with sorrow, it seems to suggest staying with a sort of a thing, object. You know, sorrow itself, the word itself. This is why Krishnamurti, I think, was pointing out, can you look at yourself without the word? Because the word is something that is fixed there. It is something that has a steady meaning. But the sorrow is not something fixed. It's not something that does not move. And this is true for whatever is going on within and without. There are people speaking outdoor. I hope it's not disturbing. So when we say staying with what is, it means staying with something that is all the time moving, all the time made up of multiple layers. And if we take it as a thing, this is distorting the perception. It's not a thing, is a movement, is a multi-layer reality where the inside and outside, the different layers of the inside and outside are participating together in a sort of dance. And that being with this dancing is being with what is. And so this is one, I think, of the chap we, not you perhaps, but that might happen. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Santi. Just
So many. Yeah.
yeah, so if you guys don't mind, so these are the things which somehow I've been thinking about last few days. One thing which stands out is watch reaction to reaction. I think that is very, very important. Okay, I react, that is natural. Okay, so fear is built into us. It is part of our DNA. It is part of our survival mechanism. Comparison is built into us, part of survival. Okay, so that first reaction will be instinctive, you know, and then if we can wash that, then something happens. Then it doesn't cascade, then it doesn't become big. It explodes. So I think that is probably the first step that you mentioned. But very good, Santi. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Pradeep ji.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Can I ask if you can speak loudly, because my loudspeaker doesn't work as a very low volume. I have some difficulty in listening. So I'm sorry for that. But
Okay.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shanti. It was a very, you put it so simply, and the real thing is wanting. The center point, the mood point is wanting and how it distorts anything. So, to look without wanting, a fresh idea came to me that we don't know what look is actually. What looking, how rich looking is. So that's why we are in our very narrow-minded self, little self we are in, we see things with that. But otherwise, looking itself is so rich, I tell you, that it gives you fresh. fresh, everything. So much is available to you. See, the moment you are free from yourself and you see, it is a very rich experience every time. How do I know it? Because it's my hobby to take pictures, images. So it is so rich to see without wanting. Then second point is very good when you talked about meditation is silence, not reacting. Again, it is the same aspect of self all the time, coming in, jumping in. So that way it is very, every moment is fresh, every moment is new. To if you look, it is very rich experience for everyone, every one of us. So we don't know how rich looking itself is. That's all. If you are free from hunger and safe enough to talk like this and see, then seeing is a beautiful experience. Without wanting anything, it gives you so much that you don't need it. You don't need anything if you are looking at things as they are. You don't need anything else. Thank you very much, friends, giving me a chance.
Yeah, thank you, Pradeep ji. Yeah, this is the fact. If one discovered that there is something really rich, and one of the facets of this richness is communication with others. There is a barriers are falling down, and these we are human, we are the world, we are on the same boat, become just so evident, and communication flows without any difficulty. I mean, is so good, and but again, it is a discovery. It's not a yes. That's all. Sorry.
Because
Sir, can
please.
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you for giving this opportunity, sir. I think the very topic what we have taken is actually it's so interesting, and I think it requires. I think I personally felt it is a deep introspection because the it is as seeing that it is or as it is of the thing. I think that itself will reveal by itself. Means there is when there is no ignorance, I think it will reveal by itself, and it happens by itself because see, seeing the sorrow, for example, the Krishnamurti's life history only when we consider, he was with that sorrow for some time, as Parekh sir was sharing about that the short the instance. He told that in that he mentioned it. So he was with that sorrow for 10 days, I think. But being in that sorrow itself revealed the actual thing for him. He got to know what is the reality. He tried to he didn't try actually. The sorrow itself revealed him what it was. So that it is. So only thing what we should do, I think, in our way or in our dimension is, I think we need to just keep quiet and allow that to penetrate because that it is has immense power. Just we should be aware of that instant. As you also mentioned 5 minutes back, Pradeep sir also was telling, every moment is very fresh. So when we know that minute, so when we are constantly, I mean, when we try it, when we constantly pursue it, I think we are again falling into a pattern that I want to be alert, I want to be aware. That's not possible because just being aware, just being to that minute, just being choicelessly aware, as what all the speakers have previously told. So I think that itself will flower. That there is something called flowering. The flowering of the brain, or the flowering of the thought, the flowering of the thing will happen by itself. And one more thing is this self, and the self which is within me, and the same self which is in the other person are one, means they run parallel. I mean, the thing which is there, that it is which is already found in the world, and the things whatever I am seeing, for example, the sorrow, the pain, the anger and anxiety, it is it is in every individual. So already that thing is there, that is already the thing is there. It is on how we react to it, and if we react to it, then there is no use, we can't observe it. So once we go into it, once we start observing the emotions or the relationships or the behavior of it, I think that itself will end. So once I observe my sorrow, that sorrow will end. Definitely it will end, because once I observe my anger, why am I angry? For what reason am I angry? Is this anger, will it fetch me anything? There is no use of getting angry. When I go to the root of it, I think by going to that instant will, I think, make us be aware of the present situation. And I think then there is nothing that I want to be, or there is nothing that I want to achieve or something. So it is nothing but a junction between what was and what is in the next. So when we see that it is now, then there will be no what was, and then there will be no what is next. So all that ends, the past, the future, everything ends in the present. So in that very present, that pure state, that ultimate intelligence will reveal. And I think one more last point which I want to tell: when we observe so intensely, that when the observer is the observed in that statement, or when the analyzer is the analyzed, so when we go so deeply, then the I doesn't exist there, because we get dissolved into that. At a stretch, we can see, we can hear, we can sense it. All the reactions, all the stimulus will happen at the same minute, which is not possible otherwise, because all this sensory stimulus, we do it partially, one after the other, separately. But when you are in that complete observation, when we are in that complete silence of that root of observation, all the things we can do at a time. We can hear the sound, we can see the light, and we can hear the music, everything. For example, when I'm observing the sea, when I'm observing with complete attention, when I'm completely aware of the sea, I can sense the sound of the wave, I can be that wave, I can see the wave. So all the stimulus, I think all the inputs at a time, it can happen. So in that state, the I or the self absolutely doesn't exist. And I think that itself is being with it is, I feel. So thank you for giving this opportunity, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something? You know,
Yeah.
Krishnamurti has been using, he was quite fond, I would say, of words like complete, absolute, total, and so on. But I would say, is it our real experience for you? Have you this experience, total, ending completely, finish, freedom, absolute? Is this that we are living really? Honestly? Honestly? Are we honest with that? I don't doubt that for Krishnamurti came from his own inner journey. He could use the words totally free from fear. Sometimes he was saying, I don't know, when you will walk up of this tent, you will be totally free from fear. I wonder, on the 2,000 people that were there, how many walking out of the tent were really free from fear forever? I doubt, sincerely. Perhaps it's just my
Yeah.
bias, but I doubt. I want to be honest.
Yeah.
So I want to say, yes, this thing might happen, this discovering that freedom is at the beginning. We can look at fear without fear. I would suggest this does not imply that the fear ends. It's not the ending of fear. And I would also say, that, at least for what is my experience, I've been through deep pains during the past few years, and I experimented with what I had been saying before. I was alone. At one point, I went alone in a mountain for a couple of weeks without reading, without using nothing, without. I was telling myself, just be with your pain. That's all. It was a real journey, absolutely not easy. It was, when we say it's not a matter of time, it's not time, time is not, that is a quite an obvious, logical, reasonable statement. First of all, it really means it's not a matter of time. It's not a question now, instantly, 1 second, or 1 week, or 1 month, or one life. It's not a matter of time. It's not a question of how long it takes. If it takes very short, then there is no time. If it takes 1 week, then it is a matter of time. This is a work, a real work, in my understanding, we can do, and therefore we are responsible for doing it. It is possible, and when there is a possibility, there is a responsibility. To see that there is pain here, and that this pain is whatever, and being with that is, I would say, is not an easy journey. We should look really with compassion to that, to our friend that is going through pain, to that journey, not just telling the other, if you really see it, it is finished, it is out. To really see the pain, to really see the root of the pain. I don't know, if a mother loses her daughter, you can imagine what kind of pain she's going through. Would you tell that mother, if you really see your pain, it will be over? Would you tell her it's enough not to register? Would you not think that this is cruelty to say something like that? If it doesn't come really, not from a place where you repeat Krishnamurti, but from a place of compassion. So, to be honest, is never repeating the statements from Krishnamurti or from whoever. To be honest is what we are talking about, that is seeing what is the only possibility to be honest. And that is to be in contact with ourselves right now. If there is compassion here, then good. But if there isn't, just to repeat this and that is not going very far. On the contrary, it's causing hurting, damage, is taking away the energy of the communication. Thank you.
Yeah. I think Prasad ji wants to speak.
Yeah, hi, sir. Yeah. Am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, hi, sir. I was just listening to all of you, and out of that only, while listening to you, I was just thinking about observer is the observed here and there, and I'm just thinking about it. Like while listening to all of you. So it's like the whatever the little bit of insight I got, that is from listening to you and keeping it in mind what is observer is the observed. That so it just came to my mind that Krishnaji says that observer, which is the past, which is a dead thing, right? So observer, if you take one part, observer is the dead thing, right? Which is kind of unreal. So if we apply a little bit of mathematics, observer equal to observed, right? So observed is also false. So when both are unreal, then as Pradeep sir pointed out in his when he is speaking, the observation only remains. So yeah, that is just a small insight I got from myself. I just want to keep it here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You say
May I
few
make a
words?
comment?
Sorry.
No,
May,
go on.
may I make a comment?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. Say that like Krishna ji talked about absolute, complete freedom, total freedom. Nobody can say, because we can only say about the present moment. We don't know what will happen. There could be some accident and some brain damage. And so we can only say that, yes, there is a freedom in the present moment. And even in Krishnaji's life, if you have read biography of Mary Zimbalist, that Krishnaji had fear of going out, anxiety, all that remain even in Krishnamurti's life. But one can watch it and not make it a problem. Something can come, some challenge, some anger, some anxiety. It can come, but with this awareness, it can see clearly whatever is happening, and that is the freedom we have, is the freedom of observing as it is. So I hope you are able to hear, listen, because I see Santi has a difficulty in listening. Okay, I will finish.
I hear, Shad.
Yeah,
I keep
yeah,
my
yes,
ear close to the computer to.
yeah, right. Yes, there is nothing like absolute freedom for all time. Only it is in the present moment. We can say past is gone, future has not come. Freedom is in the present moment. Okay, I finish.
Yes, I thank you, Ashad, and I think one of the aspects of what Ashad was pointing out now, I think is that if we think two things as ending of fear in terms of absolute, we imply with that something that we don't know, in fact, is going beyond. So it's not in our hand. The absolute is not in our hands. It's not something we can produce or achieve. It's not there. And to say freedom is now there is no fear. Okay, good. Now there is no fear. Now, to see that, and I would say this is an important point because there is something that can actually happen in life that is immense, that has immense depth, meaning, beauty, and it is real. It might not last. No? We have just momentary glimpse into that. But nevertheless, it is real. It's not illusion. It's not produced through will, through wanting, through searching. It is real. But basically, it's not in my hands. The fact that it's not in my hands, it's not in our hands, is extremely relevant. Because this, if we really see that, when then we drop all our attempts to reaching to I don't know what meditation techniques, wanting to state the right statement, repeating Mahana Maharshi or Krishnamurti, I don't know what. How boring is all this, friends? I mean, this is not in our hands. If it happens that we fall upon it, then good. If we are lucky enough, perhaps it will be just half an hour, half a minute, and then again we are back in the same old trap or in the same old boat. What's wrong with that? This is our human experience. That's all, I mean. But understanding that it is really not in our hands is giving this brain, this thinking, this search the right place. There is an ending all the time because there is far more respect for each other because we are really in this journey and no one of us has the power, even not Krishnamurti, had the power to produce a change in no one. He couldn't. He could do his best. He did his best. He spent 70 years speaking and so on, but he was, at the end of his life, he was saying, no one really understood me. So it, it's not a really happy end, I would say. But anyway, this is the fact. We cannot produce that. So that's all. This is something that is part of what is. It's part of looking at what is.
I want to say that the human problem, most humanity, is that we are using thinking to solve the problem created by thinking, and it doesn't work. Thinking cannot solve the problems created by thinking. A different dimension, what we call choiceless awareness or intelligence, which is required to see the problems created by thinking. And without that, problems will remain. Just like I saw a rat with a short tail, and it was trying to catch its own tail, this rat, little rat, and it was going round and round, and it was caught into the mechanical activity of going round and round. And people around the rat, they were laughing, looking at the rat. But the rat was not aware that it was caught into its own movement. And then after 2 minutes, somebody touched the rat, and the rat moved in a straight line and escaped. So some kind of touching is required to our ordinary mind, which is full of thinking. When that touching happens, that awareness, intelligence is awakened, then thinking moves in a straight line and it doesn't produce more problems. So our difficulty is not thinking, but the lack of awareness, which is keeps on the thinking movement go on, and there is no solution in the world of thinking and feeling. Okay, I finish.
Yeah, this fact that there is no solution in the field of the I have no solution. I went through this with a friend here during the retreat. It was quite meaningful, I would say, and powerful, because at the end, one sees that everything it is offered us from Krishnamurti, from whatever, and we might turn it into an escape. To really see that the I, all this movement of thinking, wanting, being fearful, and so on, has no possibility to get rid of itself. This be seeing that we are stuck there, it has in itself a power. I think it has a power because it's the truth, it's a factual thing. While this taking in the boat, this in the boat of fear, movement, wanting, and so on, the solution, though those solutions have the same value to comfort, to make the mind more peaceful, to lower the level of reaction, and so on. This might be, but it's not going further than that. That's all.
Yes. Kamlesh ji, is it time now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can end. Thank you, Shanti.
Thank you, everybody. It was good to
Thank
be
you.
with
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I wish you a very good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.